So I wanted to talk a little bit about the concept of persistence versus learning and iteration. We have this idea that's very common in society that persistence is really, really a good thing, right? That if you're strong, you'll keep going, you'll have endurance, you'll persist, you don't give up. And it's true that these are great qualities to have, but only if you temper them with a sense of humility and dedication to learning. Because iteration and development are actually much more important than persistence for its own sake. The reality is that if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and just keep trying to achieve the same thing without changing anything, it's not that you're going to spend 20 years trying at something and one day you're finally going to have a major breakthrough. That only works for like something like trying to pick your way through a stone wall. But when it comes to like more creative, abstract aspects of the human psyche, of the human development, of the creative things that we want to put out there, I think the really crucial thing is to have a combined sense of kind of unending optimism and also unending humility. So knowing that you don't know everything, being willing to recognize that learning is a huge privilege, and being delighted in finding the places where things do go wrong and where you do fail, because you know that those are not necessarily reflections of the work you're doing itself or of your abilities as a person. Those are just reflective of the places where you still have more things to learn and more things to try. And then taking those and building on them and trying new things and making it an iterative process and slowly building on what you've found before. If you persist at that and not at the one action that you're thinking about persisting at, ultimately you have great results. So, of course, I'm talking about writing here. Um, this has been the big transformation for me this year, is kind of understanding that by continuing to do exactly the same process that I've always done, it doesn't get me anywhere. I just keep trying the same thing over and over again. I've been very persistent, and I have not necessarily been building on what I've been learning in an iterative and helpful way. So this is what I'm trying to shift, is how can I take the places where I keep breaking down and turn this into like a personal experiment, as I mentioned before. What are some of the metrics that I can change? What are the environmental shifts I can change? What are the approaches I can change? And then looking at it more as data, and then everything is data. And some things might be more successful and some things might be less successful, but the key is that I have to be willing to face the fact that I actually don't know everything. No matter how long I've been writing, I clearly don't really know what it takes to get to the end of a project. And does that sting a little bit when I thought I was going to be like the most famous writer in the world when I was 9 years old? Yeah, sure, it takes humility, but again, if I want to be successful on the very long run, if I want to make a lifestyle out of this, the only way to make a lifelong career out of something is to not stagnate. And the only way you can not stagnate is to always be growing and developing. And that means incremental small changes building on the ones that came before. So that's my inspiration for today. Iteration over persistence, or rather persistence with iteration, and above all, humility and willingness to learn.